gonna do like my little introduction here, and then we'll get into it, but it's really easy. Okay. With 2 people, it's like nothing.
Okay, I'll just have a conversation with you. How's that?
Yes, exactly. Welcome everyone. This is episode, I do this every time, 8? Does that sound right? Lisa's a fan.
It does sound right.
Okay, let's just say episode 8, tentatively, of the Lochknits Knitting Podcast. My name is Haley. You can find me everywhere on the internet and in the universe as Lochknits. I have links to all of the points of discussion, all the info about what we're talking about today in the description box below. If you want to follow up, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. But today is a special episode. It's a little different than our usual kind of show and tell, knit and chat scenario. I am here with my favorite local yarn store owner, Lisa of Thimbleberry. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for having me.
This is Lisa's first time on a podcast, which I thought would be so much fun. We're just here hanging out at Thimbleberry for the day. We're gonna do a little chatty part with Lisa here. We get to know her, a little bit about the shop and how this all came to be. And then we're gonna take a little tour of the yarn store. So we're gonna take you around, show you everything, what makes Thimbleberry Thimbleberry, get some of the history of the shop. We got some amazing shop samples that I'm looking at just kind of around the store as we're talking about it now. And there's a lot to see. So without further ado, let's get into the Thimbleberry content. Tell us who you are, what kind of crafter you are, how long you've been crafting. Tell us everything.
So, you already know my name is Lisa. Mm-hmm. I have been knitting since I was about 8 years old. So we'll just say it's been a long time.
Yeah. She's experienced.
I consider myself to be an experienced knitter. I dabble in other crafts as well. I'm pretty heavy into quilting, and I took that up probably about 10 years ago. But I can say anything that has to do with fiber and color, I'm there for it. I'm there for it. I do spin.
Yes.
I also weave. So any kind of fiber art.
Knit and crochet too.
And crochet as well.
Yeah.
Crochet is my newest adventure.
I love that.
I know.
Crochet's having a moment.
It is having a moment, and that's really what got me started with crochet.
Awesome.
I was really put off by the fact that people felt that knitters were biased against crocheters because we're still talking about the same fibers and the same level of creativity and making things with your hands, which
absolutely
is like critical. I thought, I'm not a crocheter because I was biased against crochet, but just because I had never done it. I have a wonderful woman who works occasionally in the shop here teaching crochet, and I was one of her first students. So
that's wonderful.
And I've moved along. I'm left-handed, which
that is important.
It is.
Absolutely.
In knitting, I find that it's not, because knitting is a two-handed operation.
Right. We're engaging both sides regardless.
Yes. Whereas when you're talking about crochet, you do have a more dominant hand.
Yeah.
And I tried crocheting right-handed, but I much prefer crocheting left-handed. So then the challenge becomes reading a pattern, because it's not the same. Heather is helping me to learn to be a more free-formed crocheter,
which is the whole point of crochet.
Which is also an overlooked point of knitting as well.
Right.
The more you master, then you can modify patterns for yourself to suit a specific yarn that you want that might not be called for, a change in gauge. Yeah, sometimes you gotta use math.
I know. I feel like
sometimes you do.
I bring that up on the podcast too. Like, math's not like the scariest thing in the world for me.
It's not.
But I understand that for most people it is, but I wholeheartedly agree.
So remember, you can use a calculator.
Yeah.
Right?
A calculator, we got our notebooks.
Yeah, and you can ask for help. My shop is a perfect place. to come and engage with someone with some experience who can help advise you. And any local yarn shop should be willing to do that for you, in my opinion.
And it's nice to know, I had no idea that you were left-handed.
Yeah.
You come from a place of experience. So that's awesome. Where is the shop located? Where are we at right now?
So I'm at the crossroads of Main Street and 940 in Whitehaven, PA. So if you're an outdoors person, you're familiar with the D&L Trail.
Yes.
Which runs right in front of my shop. And if you're a river person, I can see the Lehigh River from my front window. So, very accessible, close to Route 80, 81, 940, 115.
And if
all roads lead to me.
Yeah. Roads and rivers.
Right.
If you've been watching the podcast and you've managed to distinguish where I am in the universe, I live in Wilkes-Barre, so Northeast PA, pretty equidistant to New York City and Philadelphia in like the top corner of Pennsylvania by the Poconos. Lisa is about 20 minutes from where I live, so this is like about as local as a local yarn store gets for me, and well worth the drive. I will have put the shop info, address, location, all of that stuff in the description box.
I have a website, and if you find your way to my website, you'll have access to all of my social media. I also do activities locally. Hickory Run State Park is not far from here, and I work with one of the educators there, and we host events together related to fiber and craft, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
Are you from the Whitehaven area, or you're not from here? Is that right?
I'm actually not.
That's what I thought.
Originally from here. So my husband and I raised our sons in Delaware County, PA, not far outside of Philadelphia. My husband still works in that area, and we were here as summer people.
Yes, summer people. I love that.
People.
The opposite of snowbirds. Right. Summer people.
Yeah, we were summer people and fell in love with the area, and we know this is where we want to be.
Yeah.
It's a lovely part of Pennsylvania, and it's so accessible, like you said, to New York and Philadelphia, and all points.
Yeah, I completely agree.
There's a lot here. There's a lot here, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Yeah,
really happy to be a part of it.
And I think that, as we reach people in all corners of YouTube, I just had a yarn dyer comment on the podcast, a yarn dyer that I followed for a while that I admire, and she said, I can't believe you're in Wilkes-Barre. One side of my family's from Wilkes-Barre. It really is a very small world. Even the United States is so vast and big, we just don't think about it. But I would encourage, if you are interested in giving Thimbleberry a visit, just put it in your GPS, put it in your Google Maps, see how far of a drive it is, round up your yarn friends and make a day of it.
Yeah. I do get a lot of people,
travelers,
who come through here who are vacationing in the area or are destination crafters, right? Destination knitters. People who like to get together with their friends, load up the car, take a drive. And I will say, if you're going to do that, don't hesitate to get a hold of me ahead of time, and I'll make sure it's an experience.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, that's how I found you. The first time I brought, I don't even remember which one. It could have been Brienne or Gail, or I brought one of them, or both of them, or something.
I think it was both.
It could have been both, yeah. In here, and I was like, you have to see this. You have to see this yarn store. Yeah, and it's just a blast. There's, as you can tell, this is one wall of many in this shop. This shop is small, but very mighty, so it's well worth a trip.
And I do pride myself on being an experience. I want to communicate that there's a vibe.
There is a vibe, 100%.
A vibe to the shop. And, the people who are here are helpful, and it's a community.
Yes.
It's a community.
Hard agree. And I know obviously like if you're watching this in the future times, we're filming in January 2024 right now, this would certainly be subject to change, but typically what days of the week are you open?
So I am open Wednesday through Sunday. So the days of closure are Monday and Tuesday, but right now through the winter months I'm open from 10 to 5 on Wednesday and Friday. I'm open late on Thursdays, and we actually have open knitting, so from 5 to 7 on that day. I'm open from 12 to 7 on Thursdays, but from 5 to 7 people come in after work and we sit around and we knit. Bring conversational knitting, because there's a lot of talking that goes on at the same time.
I'm sitting here doing the last of the increases on my toe of a new pair of socks that I really wanted to have done for today, so I totally get that.
Yeah, so you want something that you don't have to count.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
You will be counting over and over and over
again.
But it's really fun. It's really fun. So that's my Thursday experience. Fridays I am open again from 10 to 5, Saturday from 10 to 4, and Sunday 10 to 3.
Awesome. I remember all the times I had been in here before I started just kind of showing up and hanging out with you. The Sunday hours like really were a huge game changer for me as someone who like my whole life takes place basically on Saturday every week. So that's huge. I definitely wanted to bring that up. For people who are watching, who it's sometimes hard to get to your small businesses, especially if you're driving for them. So that's great information. It's great to know.
And like I said, if you're making a plan for a destination trip and you let me know ahead of time, those times are negotiable.
That's awesome.
Yeah, those times are negotiable. And I'll be honest, the late night on Thursday is helpful too.
Yeah.
For people working, during those, they're not all jobs are 9 to 5, but some are.
Yep.
And so that helps too.
Yeah. That's great. When did you know that you wanted to open a yarn store? Like what was kind of your aha moment that you said like this is what's for me? Right.
So that's an excellent question. And I will say that I have always wanted a yarn shop for a very, very long time. I have a history of a corporate career.
Okay.
So I worked in a Fortune 500 corporation for many, many years. And I have to be honest with you, one of the things that changed everything for me, like it did for a lot of other people, is COVID.
That's right.
Changed
myself too. I completely understand.
Yes. So, my observation with businesses is that for as many businesses that did not take the stresses of COVID, there's a lot of us that thought, you know what, this is time for me to cut loose and follow a dream.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was at a point in my career where I felt like I had done what I was going to be able to do.
Right.
And I needed something different for my soul.
I
needed something different for my soul.
That's the truth. I think it put a lot of things into perspective like very quickly for a lot of people. And the perspective of look at all that I've accomplished, but also like what's next for me? Like what's the next move? What's the next like big thing for me?
My history is as an engineer, an engineering manager.
No wonder you're not scared of math.
I know.
Tell the people, give them the honest truth. That's what it really is.
Yeah. But so I'm pretty methodical.
Yeah.
And what I did was had to do with aircraft, so like you're always very cautious about everything.
Right.
Necessarily. I knew that in this area there was a location right across the street from where I am now, and there had been nobody in there for quite some time. And with COVID, nobody was really interested in that spot. So I contacted the landlord for the rent even though I was still fully employed, I opted to pay the rent to hold on to it, just because I thought the location was perfect. And I needed a space for remote work because my husband and I were both through COVID working remotely.
Right.
And in a small space getting on each other's nerves. So it was kind of nice to have a place that I could set up as office space and use. And I took that time to look at who was walking by, who drove through. When I would go grab lunch, I would talk to people and ask them how they got here, why they were here, why are you on the sidewalk?
Why? Right, exactly.
Would you buy yarn if I had yarn right now?
Do you know anyone that knits?
Do you know anyone who knits? And when I made the decision to no longer do what I was doing before, I thought, well, I'm just gonna take a chance. And honestly, as a small business person, everything you do is a chance, right?
Right? Oh yeah.
Every decision you make is thrilling and terrifying at the same time. Thrilling and terrifying at the same time. I took a chance. I stopped working and I brought yarn in, and I had my grand opening on Small Business Saturday.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was fun. And I had a lot of people that came out and supported me. Yeah. And it was fabulous. It was fabulous. And I am eternally grateful to those folks locally. If you're in a small town, people will come. People will support you. They want the joy that you bring.
Right. And like your success is our success. Exactly.
And it's been a growth arc ever since. Now I can't promise that to every small business.
Right.
But within a year I moved to a much larger spot. And that's where I am now. And I have to say that being flexible is critical. And if you're going to open a small business, you need to do what brings joy to your heart. But you also need to offer what people want. And you have to make sure you keep those separate. They don't always cross over.
They sure don't.
They don't always
it
cross
is
over.
A balancing act, for sure. I think especially, everybody, whether you're a small business owner in that you have a brick and mortar location or you're, like me, who I do everything digitally, and then you just show up and we spend an entire day together, at work. Or if you're exclusively online, like we are beholden to a lot of things that are outside of our control. And that doesn't mean that you can just give every part of yourself away for the sake of that. So I couldn't agree more. The balancing act it's very real.
It is. And, you can't do what you don't like. That's why a lot of us left the careers that we had to do this. I would say you have to do what you love doing. There's no question, because your business is your own. If you succeed, it's because of you. If you don't, it's because of you. So you're fully vested in everything. And if you don't love it, it will show. It will show.
And that's when the burnout comes.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And feel free to take breaks, right? Especially if you're a sole business owner.
Exactly.
If you don't take a little time for yourself, you will absolutely burn out. You have to do what you love, but you also have to be very cognizant of if you want to build a community of folks who will come in and support you and buy what you have to sell. You have to be really tuned into that and offer something that either nobody else does or nobody locally does.
Right. I was thinking as soon as you were saying that, offering, like a more accessible location or a better location or just something different, you know?
Well, and I think a good example of that is how I stock my store. All right. So I have very reasonably priced high quality yarns, and they are at the lower price point. I cannot compete with some of the very big box stores or the enormous industries that offer online.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Because they have very deep pockets. They can buy in huge quantities. And I can't compete with
They have a place to store it all.
They have a place to store it all. But I can offer something that's competitive and, in my opinion, a better quality. But you get something in addition to the yarn. You get me.
Right.
You get me.
The left-handed crafter.
The left-handed crafter. So I had a customer who came in just a few days ago who was looking for a specific color in this particular yarn. And because I source it locally, it comes from Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Love Plymouth.
So Plymouth is out of Bristol.
Bristol.
But Kramer is
Kramer,
out of
that's
Kramer.
it. Oh my gosh.
And it's a lovely yarn, and they both are. And I order from both. But I have developed a relationship where I can call Allison. Hi, Allison, if you see this. And she will get things in the mail, and I swear I get it in 3 days. So I have color cards, and I can sit down and work with you on a project and help you try and choose colors that I may not have in stock, but I'm willing to order, and I can help you create what you want to create. Right? And if you go to a big box store, like whether it's Walmart or Hobby Lobby or any one of those other stores, I don't think you get that level of service with the yarn. If you want advice on gauge or advice on fiber content or anything like that, even a pattern, I've had people come in with patterns. There's a lot of free patterns out there, both for crochet and for knit, that for different reasons can be problematic. And I'll help you sort through that. I'll help you find the pattern that you need that will work. So you get me. You get me as a part of the price of the yarn. And you don't have to get in your car and travel either if you're local. And then I have a lot of yarns that come from local yarn dyers as well, right? So I have Sheepyshire, I have the June Price yarn, which is dyed out of, she's out of Westchester. I have a fabulous artist who has a studio in Freeland, PA.
I was just gonna
really close.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you're a fan of the podcast and you've been watching, I used yarn. What's the name of her?
Acorn Cottage.
Acorn Cottage, that's it. I promptly lost the tag as soon as I was done knitting with it. That gorgeous sweater that I knit for my nephew Henry was that like sprinkle confetti yarn, and it was so special, and it was one of those skeins that I was holding on to because it was so special. But yeah, like it's just like so one of a kind.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. So I like to have the one of a kind because some of the more seasoned and experienced knitters are always looking for that one thing that they are willing to hold in their stash till the right project comes along. I have finer fibers that need more care, and I have fibers that are perfect for you know, your nephew's sweater. So it's kind of, I love the fact that I've been able to provide a diversity of yarns for all purposes, and that you get me. Right. And you also get a community, right? Whether it's the Thursday night group, there's no gatekeeping in those four walls. The people who come here want to share with you what they've done, what they know, what their experiences are. There's a lot of encouragement that goes on.
That's right.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. You can't get that from a Joann Fabrics, you know?
No, you can't. You can't.
So I can't completely understand. Couldn't agree more with all of that. I love that. Thank you. I'm now realizing I forgot to ask this because this is what we're off our usual pace here. What are you wearing today?
Oh, this is a cowl, and it's called Elfrith's Alley.
It's so pretty.
And that's an alleyway in Philly.
Oh, how sweet!
Yeah, this is can be found on Loop's website.
Okay.
So in terms of gatekeeping, I don't hold back on telling you about other yarn shops. So
yeah,
if you come in here, we're gonna more talk than happy to discuss. And Loop is one of them, and it's a lovely shop in Philly, and he has this pattern on that website, and it's called Elfrith's Alley. So I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, if you hold it up there.
But there's like a walkway and cobblestones.
That is so sweet.
And that's where that comes from. So this is done in a DK weight, and it's a hand-dyed DK weight, but you know, perfect for Madeline Tosh.
Yeah.
In a DK.
Is it a one skein situation?
So this was 2 skeins.
Okay.
2 small skeins. You could adapt the pattern if you had a yarn that you really wanted to use. I could help you adapt the pattern.
Exactly.
You could make it shorter. You could make it the circumference different. There's different ways that you could do that. You could also do it in different weights.
That's true.
Right? It calls for DK, but there's nothing to stop you from using other weights.
Yeah.
That's the lovely thing about cowls and things that don't have a stake in the gauge.
Yeah. We love those.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I think as you become a more accomplished knitter crocheter, nothing brings you more joy than making something your own and uniquely your own. Whether it's going out and getting a fiber that wasn't necessarily called for in the pattern, or changing the pattern, and as you get more experience, you understand ways to do that and ways to make modifications to make it yours.
I always feel inspired too, working with, you know, we have so many people in our lives through, you know, Instagram, real life, the yarn stores near and far from us. But you make so many friends, and taking their knitting, yarn crafting experience and watching someone modify a pattern or say, I tried this crazy thing and I had no idea if it was going to work. That can be very inspiring.
It can.
I have a sweater that I'll talk about on the next traditional format episode that I recently cut off 8.5 inches off the bottom of it. Throw caution to the wind. Do whatever you want, you know?
Yes, yes. And you can always, like, I have a naughty pile.
Yeah.
I got the naughty pile, right? So I have the things that have not gone the way I intended. Yep. And you're just like,
I'm done with it. I'm over it.
And that's okay. Yep. That's okay. And it doesn't mean it stays there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, that's what I need to do. Right?
I'm glad this isn't just me.
No. And then it comes out of the pile and you redo. Yeah. Or maybe you just reclaim the fiber and you put it to something else. It needs a timeout.
Yeah.
It needs a timeout.
I've been watching everybody's post 2023, like what I knit in 2023 videos, and I feel sad, but a lot of these people are making stuff that, you know, they revisit it or they reflect on it at the end of the year, and they're like, and I'm just gonna frog it, you know? And
which
like,
is okay.
Sometimes it be like that. That's totally normal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in my experience from doing the, you know, various podcasts over the last few years, I would say more often than not, the people that engage with YouTube videos who are commenting, you know, we're friends on the internet, on Instagram and things, not, I would say the majority of everybody I talk to doesn't have in-person yarn fiber friendships. And I know we've talked about it before that you and I both are very fortunate in that, you know, we have these groups of people who are very close to us that we share all of these interests in common with and everything. Do you want to talk a little bit about how, especially as someone who moved from point A to point B, how do you find these people? How, like, what was your experience like? Did it take a while? Was it instant?
Yes. No. So it was not instant.
Okay.
What was instant was the community support the day that I opened, right? So many people came to see me who were not knitters or crafters, but they just wanted to say, and they still stop in and say thank you for being here, right? Which is fantastic. And so one of the things I invested in early on was, as soon as I could afford it, a website.
Okay.
It's a landing spot. And then also some sort of a business card. So I created a business card that had a scan code that got people to me, and I handed them out freely. So like, if people came in and said, hey, I just want to see what's going on in here, but I don't knit or crochet. One, I offered to teach them. Right. I offered to teach them if they're interested, but you know, almost everybody knows somebody.
It's so true. It really is true.
Almost everybody knows somebody who does knit or crochet, and I say, like, look, even if they live far away, just give this to them. Give this to them, because the craft community is a circle, right? And people do talk to one another about places they've been and things that they've done, and people that they've met and stores that they've been to. And word of mouth is huge in this particular industry, I guess. Well, let's call it an industry.
Absolutely.
Right? So, that's huge. I do advertise locally as well, but the biggest thing for me to get visibility has been to participate actively in the community.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm on the Chamber of Commerce and another business on the street, and I set up a farm market, craft market, once a month from April to October. All of those things don't necessarily bring people through your door, but they make you more visible. I also teach the local high school, the adult education classes that they have in the evenings. I teach Learn to Knit. I've taught Learn to Knit enough times that now I'm teaching an advanced class.
Yeah.
An intermediate class, which is awesome. We're going to do this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we are. We're going to do this. So I do that through the Crestwood area school district continuing education. It's CACE. So I've done that, and that's helped me to create more of a community reach. Right. So when I do these teaching events, when I do these events outside of the shop, when I go to Hickory Run, you know, I don't go there with things to sell. But what I do is I go and I tell them about myself, my shop, and the community that's here that they can tap into. And there have been some interesting things. So there was a friendship where these two people who are in my age demographic, who went to high school together, but have not seen each other since like graduation, and met again here.
So sweet.
It's cool. It's really cool. And I get a thrill out of people whose paths might never have crossed for all kinds of reasons, who now know each other, and it's gone on to other things.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how I met Brienne of the Moon and Yarn Craft Room, was by taking one of her classes. Her little thing got pushed to me on Instagram and said, you might be interested in this. And I was like, that's the girl with the white hair. I'm very interested in taking a class from her. Next thing you know, I'm like the maid of honor in her wedding, and she's opening a yarn store and just all this other crazy stuff. But yeah, I think that even though like it seems, you know, if you want a community, engage with the community, that's that sounds a lot easier, you know, said than done.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, just getting out there and being a part of like whatever's going on locally for you. If you can't participate in something locally because of where you live or where you spend most of your time primarily, don't be afraid to reach out, engage with people. Like, we're all here doing the same thing for a reason. And whether, you know, that's showing up to knit night or someone posts a picture on their Instagram, they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be doing that if they didn't want to have that engagement and that kind of like community feeling, you know.
It's very true. It's very true. And I'll say, so I'm not shy, but I am an introvert. I am 100% an introvert. That doesn't mean I don't. I mean, I chose something where I talk to people all the time.
Actively. That's your whole job.
That's my whole job. But I'm like, it's an expenditure of energy, right?
It is.
But it's an expenditure of energy where I want to put it.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't let that get in the way. You'll easily be engaged.
Right.
With people with like interests. And it takes a little bit to get over that sort of shyness. It's like people who don't like to make cold calls on the phone.
Yeah.
Right?
I know people like my age who can't even order pizza on the phone. I get it.
But, you know, you think about it, when you do engage with people, if you make the connection, great. If you don't, so
it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Exactly. If they're not interested, that's okay. They'll move on. You'll move on. It'll all be good.
Right.
It's not like how somebody's out there keeping score.
It really is. It's the truth. I think that, you know, my experience engaging with people, talking to folks who watch the podcast or follow me on Instagram, you know, whatever it is, what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. And there's no obligation to, you know, comment on things, to engage with things, but do what makes you happy. If you're just someone who wants to like sit and hang in the background, that's totally fine. If you want to get out there and make more friends, put yourself out there. Like, it really is, like I said, what you make it. And I think you'd be surprised too, when you think about building a community, whether it's to engage with like a more tangible space, if you're looking for people to go to fiber festivals with you even, or you just want to have like a little yarny group chat in your life, making one connection will then make more connections for you.
And it's a geometric thing, right? So for each person you meet, they know two people who know two people who know two people, right? And it gets really big really fast. I think not every group is a good fit for everybody.
That's true.
Right?
That's very true.
So if you find a group and you're not feeling it, find another group.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean you're not a good fit, and that just keep going.
Right.
Keep going. There's a lot of really cool people out there. Find them.
There really are. Lisa, we've heard about your yarn store. I'm excited to get into this tour here. Before we get out of like the more formal like sit down podcast episode, what are you knitting on right now? Talk about your whip.
Yeah. So this is a Musselburgh hat, Isolde Teague. This made the rounds in social media a while ago, and it's had this tremendous resurgence.
Yeah.
Right? Tremendous. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I am addicted.
I get it. And I mean, it wouldn't be coming around for a second time if everyone else weren't addicted to it.
Yeah,
so I think you're in great company.
It is. I teach classes. I teach at Knitters Day Out in Harrisburg. I teach in various places other than just my shop. And so one of my more popular classes has been teaching knitting and gauge. And, you know, I spend all of this time drilling in how important gauge and getting gauge is, whether you're going to modify or you want it to look like it does in the picture.
Yes.
Right? So you have to get gauge. You have to, whether you're going to modify or do it the way it's written. So even an experienced knitter comes across stuff that, you know, is completely new that they find out everybody else knew about.
Yes.
So, and that is a no gauge pattern. And the Musselburgh hat is a no gauge pattern. So it doesn't mean it doesn't have gauge. It means you don't knit to a gauge. You start at the center, and I'm sure there's a lot of informative stuff out there, but basically you start at the center. Yeah, you start at the center, and there's a number of ways to start that center. I know you've talked about the pinhole.
Yep,
before.
pinhole cast on.
Pinhole cast on. You can do it with a crochet hook. You can do in the magic loop.
Yep.
You can do it with, found like 3 or 4 different ways, and one is actually with a darning needle.
Interesting.
Crazy.
I haven't heard of that one before.
Yeah,
with
it's
this.
pretty cool. I'll share it with you later. But no, it's pretty awesome. And then you just start from that center and work your way out with increases until it's large enough that you can measure what your gauge is. So you're not going to work to a gauge. You're just going to work. You're going to pick a yarn and a needle that that is compatible for the fabric that you want to create.
Feels nice while you're knitting it. Yep.
Yeah. And then you count and you measure it, and then from that you look at the Musselburgh pattern and you follow the recipe for that
Based on what you conjured.
Yes, yes. And this becomes its own carrying case.
Yeah.
So, you know, my yarn is just hanging out in the bottom of
my
this
knitted
while I
project
knit.
bag.
My knitted project bag. But it's a great stash buster, right? If you have little pieces of stuff. I will say the important thing to note is if you're doing a lot of color changes, that you tie in your ends before you start reducing on the other side,
before the hot dog closes on itself.
Yeah. Don't make the mistake of waiting until you have a circle about that big to
like weave in ends from 3 feet ago.
Yeah, it feels a little invasive, let's just say. But I'm really addicted to this because you can use any yarn weight that suits your fancy, and it's a great stash buster. And the size is really adaptable, so like you can make it so that it's a close fitting beanie if it's somebody who likes that kind of a hat, and it's reversible, so you can use different colors. You can make it so that there's a lot of space and it's a slouchy hat. If you're just dabbling in modifying patterns and creating to suit what you want as a look,
yes,
this is a perfect way to get started. This Musselburgh hat is like the bomb.
I love it. I have been sitting here looking at some seriously gorgeous yarn that we're going to show you before we get into the tour aspect of today's video, but we had to pull out some special ones to show you just a little bit, a little taste of what Lisa has going on here at Thimbleberry. We literally like broke it out of the plastic, so it is as fresh as it's gonna get. Lisa, do you want to share a little bit about the yarn that is in front of us right now? We'll do a little show and tell.
Sure. So one of the fiber lines that I'm getting into that I had not carried before is Noro. Comes from Japan. This is, so I know it's January, but it's January, but everybody's already thinking, it's January, but everybody's already thinking spring knit.
Absolutely.
Right? So, you know, in July, I was pushing the idea that if you're doing knitting for the holiday, this is the time to start.
That's the true meaning of Christmas in July.
The true meaning of Christmas in July. And, you know, January is a great time to start thinking about your spring knitting. And some of those spring fibers are starting to come in, and this one is Tsubami, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. This has 50% silk content along with wool and polyamide. So what you're gonna get with that silk content is fabulous color.
If you have never used or seen, touched, or experienced Noro before, especially if you're a new knitter, I went on a giant tirade about the color beige a few episodes ago. But you may have not seen or worked with Noro before. Noro is known for these special blends, the color changes, the color stories and combinations that they put together. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the yardage involved in some Noro yarn too. These ones are no exception to that, but this is again the Tsubami base. We have 7 different colorways here. These are the ones we just liberated from the back. So it is 50% silk, 25% wool, 25% polyamide, okay. Thank you, Lisa. These ones that we're holding are 600 meters per skein. So Lisa, what's the price point on these?
So the price point on these is about $49.99, but it's a ton of yardage. So they call these in the industry Dragon Balls.
I love that.
Noro calls them Dragon Balls. And when you consider the fact, I mean, there's the shock, right? Of what, $50 for a skein of yarn? But this is not an average skein of yarn. This is
656 yards for our American pals watching this. I just Googled it.
This is 600 meters or 650 yards, which if you think about it, if you're doing a layering piece, you need one of these.
Right.
You might be buying 3 skeins of something that costs $20 a piece.
Right.
So the value of this is pretty high.
And we were talking earlier when we were busting these out about these styles that are trending right now. And again, we are thinking spring because if you start knitting it now, you'll have it done in time for springtime and everything. But vests and shawlettes, the little Sophie scarves of the universe that are out there, all of those sorts of patterns, like this is where it's at.
And you don't, with the awesome thing about Noro is that you don't have to pick the most complicated of patterns, right?
Right.
The yarn does all of the talking for you. It does all of the talking for you.
These two that are totally separate colorways, they just work together. Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous. They work together so beautifully. As I'm like touching these right now, like shift cowl, the shift again, you know, any project that's geared towards handspun, I think that Noro is a fantastic substitute for that if the crazy color aspect is something you're searching for.
And in March, I'll be getting some solids, some Noro solids that tie with these that are smaller hanks, right? So you can work them in with this without having to purchase 2 of these necessarily, right? You can get the solid that coordinates. And there are so many colors in these that it's hard to find a color that doesn't coordinate.
Yeah, exactly.
So this other Noro is a little bit more muted, and it's a wool cotton blend. It's a wool cotton blend, and it's called Hanui Cotton. This is 375 meters if you want to Google that.
let's see what that works out to be.
So this is $10 less a skein, but obviously less.
Right. This one is 410 yards, which even at, what is this, like a sport or a DK, would you say?
I would say it's probably a DK.
DK? Yeah. I mean, for 410 yards, that's like almost 2 skeins of DK.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, because it calls for a size 6-7 needle, 18 to 20 stitches to the inch. Because it does it, so silk takes color in a way that other fibers do not, and it has a sheen to it. You'll find that although these are bright and colorful, they're slightly more muted.
And they read as a solid. Like if you think about them as compared to something like this, it's...
Well, let's compare, right? But there's no reason why you can't put these together.
No, absolutely not. Especially if you think about like shawls and things with a lot of like drape. Like you still have your cotton and silk and everything that's going to give you like the good drapey end result.
Yeah. You can definitely put these together, and you know, here. you can see, you know, there's a lot of movement and interest.
There is.
To these colors. And it's super fun. And I know that for some folks, Noro has a reputation of being scratchy and not feeling good. I would not say that about either one of these, would you?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna go make a bra out of this tomorrow? Probably not. But as a shawl, or like, but what we're both wearing today, kind of like an outer layer.
Oh,
these
absolutely.
are nice.
And you know, the silk one is exceptionally soft, I have to say.
I love
and
Noro.
the cotton wool is not soft, but the silk is exceptionally soft. But they're interesting. I like the earth tones of this.
Do you know what else, as I'm sitting here looking at these, that these would be phenomenal if you paired them with similar fiber content, but a more solid yarn for color work.
Yes.
And then let like this do like color shifts, color fades. Like that would be gorgeous.
Yes. So I do have the solids coming that are compatible.
That's right.
But like a shift would be terrific. And I think another thing is, like, if you're a fan, I know you're a fan of Tin Can Knits. I know you are.
I am.
I watch,
even in spite of the crossed cardigan, we're still buds.
So everything, everyone has an experience somewhere along the line with a designer where you're like,
maybe you hate me.
Yeah. You know, they have that whole strange brew, right? You could create any one of those. And use the solid or even one of the more muted bases, right? And then pick something really wild to do your color work. You don't even have to change colors. You could do you could do the whole yoke in just one of these balls, and it would look so different as it ran through. It'd be fabulous.
Yeah, I love that.
I need to go do that.
The sky's the limit with the Noro yarn.
I need to go do that.
I am very excited to show everyone everything else. Like, this is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. We are going to put the store back together a little bit here, and we're gonna get into the tour so you can see all the other beautiful yarns that Lisa has here. And the shop is small but incredibly mighty. Assuming that we're gonna do kind of our sign off right now, and then we'll get into the tour stuff. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. It was so nice to have Lisa on the podcast to give me a break from doing all the gabbing and stuff. And I really do love, like, Thimbleberry Yarns is like, it feels like my local yarn store. It's a really wonderful place, wonderful people, wonderful experience. If you are near around Northeast PA, again, make a trip down to Whitehaven. Not for nothing, there's also phenomenal chicken wings right down the street. So make a day of it, bring all your yarn pals. But Lisa, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Silly little podcast.
For having me. This was like,
appreciate it.
For a first experience, you made it awesome.
Thank you. You're very sweet. So we're gonna dismantle, rearrange, and then we'll get into the tour. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the tour portion.
See you again soon.
Bye. All right, so we've got Lisa here for the tour of Thimbleberry. We're gonna move around the shop, and Lisa's gonna talk about what she has, what's kind of upcoming, and also some special to Thimbleberry yarn varieties, dyers, things like that. So Lisa, take us on a little tour. What do we got here?
Sure. So I'm standing where you would be if you came right in the door. So I think this is a great place to start. Here I have a bank of sock yarns. This is Sockata, which is a cotton wool sock yarn, great for summer socks. I have multicolor socks. These are all self-striping. This again is a local. It comes from Kramer. I also have here, if you, for caring for your wool, Yukon is a great way to wash and block. You can get it scented or unscented. I can tell you, I don't want to sell myself short, but I have a bottle like this that I bought in the 2000s and I'm still using it.
Yeah.
It lasts forever. It lasts forever. As we move this way, if you take a scan all the way down, there's an awful lot of color here. But what I also want to stress is that I have a variety of fibers as well. So this is a llama merino, and this is an alpaca, And here's some Madeline Tosh. I carry a variety of weights of Madeline Tosh. Madeline Tosh comes in some really amazing colorways and weights. So this is the triple twist, which is a little bit heavier. I love this this red. This is a great color. And then there's more muted. Some of them have long runs. If you look here, this has a long run with some speckle. This is Eddie Munson, Hero of Hawkins. If you look up above, I have what I consider to be a staple, which is Barocco Vintage. Really washable, dryable, great to use for clothing and garments for people who you're not sure how they're gonna handle their goods after you've gifted it. I also have Homestead, which is Plymouth, which is out of Bristol, PA, is where their offices are. This is a great sort of an errand weight yarn. It's very squishy, it's very soft, it's 100% wool, it is not a superwash, so it behaves really well. This is again a Plymouth yarn, so this is a superwash and it's a DK weight, and the colors are awesome. These neons that I really love these neon colors, and think about, for this yarn in a DK weight, think about making that colorwork cowl, a colorwork hat. It's not a huge investment and it's a really well-behaved fiber. Again, more Madeline Tosh, more Manos. I also carry Cascade. There's some of the Cascade yarns that I have. You'll see that all around. This is Cascade Sock Heritage. You'll see as we go around, there's Heritage sock yarn in a multicolor. This stuff is a solid. You can work with it with the multicolor or by itself. It's also great if you want to do a solid, like a shawl or a scarf in a sock weight yarn. Perfect for that. Another yarn that I keep here is Rasta and Noventa. Both are considered super bulky yarns. I love Rasta. You can see the glazed carrot got sucked down just yesterday. I also have a little bit of, this is a very unique yarn. It's Blue-Faced Leicester. Another yarn supplier that I carry is Kelborn Woolens, which is a woman-owned business. It's out of Philadelphia. And in particular, I carry Scout, which is a DK weight. Look at that. Look at that. Great hand when you knit it up. It blooms really nicely when you block it. The colors are multi-dimensional. I mean, if you look at this, this color in particular, it's a blue heather, but if you look, there's purple and there's blue and there's gray and there's almost sort of a green. It's fun. It's fun. And again, this is a like perfectly suited to color work. What I've gone into is Cascade 220 fingering. If you're really looking for color work, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. I have Andameo Twist. This is like a lot of yarn. This is a lot of yarn. I made this hat and this hat, which is it's an awesome slouchy hat. I made the two of these with one skein. Very generous. It's a very generous put up of the yarn, and I have it in 3 colors. I also have, again, an alpaca. This is Baby Alpaca Grand. This is called Tapas. It's a Kramer yarn. I have a sweater. This is made with the Tapas. This is an Elizabeth Zimmerman baby surprise jacket, which everyone should make it at least once. And I suspect if you make it once, you'll make it multiple times. So I want to give a plug for Happy Panther, who does a lot of my bags. So I had described to her, and she had done that, and now she sells t-shirts as well. But for this particular bag, I asked her to put the building that I'm in front and center. And not only did she do that, but like my logo is on the window.
It's so
which is
sweet.
So awesome. And the name. So this is just one of my little project bags, and it's something that a lot of people who are not necessarily crafters come in to get because they're local and they
It's
like
special.
the idea of. I have a lot of natural fiber, kind of the merino wool. These are kind of cool because they look a little more rustic. They all go together really well. They are a DK weight. Leading from that, I mean, it kind of seems like I try to make sense of the flow of my yarn.
Sure.
But it's not always easy, but this is, again, an organic wool. This is Trendsetters New York. It is a lighter weight than the DK, but again, suits itself really well to color work. And I'm going to say, if you're going to be venturing into that realm, it's really nice to have a natural fiber, and in particular something that's not a superwash, because your floats will settle better. If you don't have a lot of experience with it, it's a great way to go to get started and get good results. Naturally Nazareth, which comes from Kramer. I don't know if you're into felting your wool at all, but like felted bags, felted hats, slippers, this is made for that. This is made for that. I have a variety of alpacas over here as well. I have solids, so I used this astral alpaca to make this cowl. So I made that out of it. This is a little bit different in that it's not a solid, so it would work really well all by itself. I have a little bit of kobasi, which is, this is cotton, bamboo, silk in a DK. It also has a little bit of a stretch to it. I made a pair of socks out of that, and I made a close-fitting sleeveless tank, you know, like a tank that fits really nicely. It's shaped through the waist and all. And because it's stretchy, I made it with a negative ease, and it fits really, really well. This whole stretch is cotton. It's 100% cotton. It's Cascades Ultra Pima. You can see it's really got a nice shine to it. Great for garments. As well as, you know, for your standard washcloth. This is an example of Paris Toujours, which I made in multiple colors. And if you look at the pattern, there's only one. But it can be done in like all different weights. This is, again, a pattern that you can play with and change up, because it's just basically garter and yarn overs. Sophie scarf made out of Scout. This is Eco Plus, which is considered a more bulky yarn, and the yardage in this is phenomenal as well. It's 470, almost 480 yards in this puppy. So, and honestly, I think it's more of an Aran. So what you can make with one of these is amazing. And I love the colors. I mean, they're really, really bright. This corner is sort of my heavier weight yarns. A lot of it is the Perfection. You'll see that I have Kramer Perfection, which is my consumer priced, you know, yarn that's good for all kinds of things. And again, very friendly to the owner who's going to get whatever it is that you make, whether you make it for yourself or for someone else. I also carry the Encore Mega, as well as Encore Tweed and Encore Solid and Encore Color Spun, and you'll see all of those. If you're really sensitive to mohair, I have this Surrey Alpaca, which is a Surrey nylon. If you have a sensitivity to mohair, and look at this pool of colors that I got going here. When you get back to the beginning, there's a sample that I did so you can see what it looks like. Just a swatch. If you go down in the rack, you're going to find here Cabrito, which is a Manos yarn. I love the Manos yarns, and Cabrito is no exception. Really beautiful colors, and it has the kid mohair, like the Rowan. So the price point is a little higher, but it's also got a different feel to it. I also carry Bear Creek, which is a Kramer yarn. It's 100% wool. It does have a nylon thread running through it. The colors are phenomenal. It's soft. It's huge. It knits up really fun. If you want a fast hat and you want to make it out of 100% wool and to be warm, and you don't want to have to put a lot of pattern into it, this is something where the color will do the work for you and comes in a variety of bases. So one of the yarns I do want to highlight is that I now carry Juniper Moon, which is a very popular yarn. This is organic merino, so again, not a superwash. And it's a heavy worsted, and it feels great. For 100% wool. Cinnamon is
right. These too.
Yeah. I have some patterns as well that come, with purchase of yarn if you're interested. But they have a Melissa Leitman pattern that was designed specifically for Santa Cruz. That's color work. It's a yoke sweater, top down. Not a complicated pattern. We have a group of folks in the shop that are working on that project right now.
That's awesome.
Which is very cool. This table is wonderful. This table is all of my Sheepyshire stock. They have a number of bases. So Sheepyshire is out of Mayfield, Pennsylvania in Carbon County, so not very far from here. Close enough that often I'll pick up my orders in person. She has what she calls Pixie, and that's a yarn. It's a fingering weight or sock weight yarn, but it has a little bit of stellina in it, which makes it sparkly, gives it the little bit of pixie dust. She also has the staple sock base, which has so many colors to it. In fact, I have some mini sets that come with a free pattern that is perfectly suited. I have a little bit of the Pixie in a DK weight, but that's running low. This is Super Squishy Worsted, which is perfectly named. It's a great solid base. Again, you can see she's got some really lovely colors here. I mean, look at this. Look at this.
I love that.
And her naming is wonderful. This is a smutty romance novel. Sarah and her husband just, they crush it. They crush it. They really do. And the fact that it's local and it's a small business, and I can't say enough wonderful things. They also have Maisie, which is a super bulky. Again, the sort of thing where you can make a hat. I have a free pattern. You're interested in a little beanie. And the cool thing is the pattern calls for like 76 yards with just one of these to make that. This is where the brains of the operation hangs out. This is my register space, but I want to highlight that I'm not just about yarn. So I have embroidery kits that I carry as well. I have samplers. I have do-it-yourself embroidery kits of all different kinds. If you're looking for instruction and help on that, I can do that as well. I have a maker class. I've done these before and happy to share what I know about it. I also have tools. I carry trinkles. I carry cocoa knits. I have barber cords, which if you don't own barber cords and you need to put things on holders, you need to come see me, because barber cords will make your life anew. Again, I also carry Lumi lights, which I can show you a physical sample of as well over here. So I also carry the Lumos wearable light, which you can see they're in different intensities, different light levels. They're super flexible. You plug them in, you charge them, they stay charged up for a long time. And in contrast, I have the Amazon version, which is basically on off, and you can get different light intensities but not color of light. It's very heavy around your neck, it really makes a difference. These are great for all kinds of things: knitting, sewing, reading. I also carry stickers, I carry stitch stoppers, again the Lochknits, the markers. I also carry their maker kits. I have their maker boards. I carry subversive cross stitch.
Can we get a little preview of that?
You can. These are my spicy
yes,
subversive cross stitch.
So cute.
And they're just a whole lot of fun. And it is counted cross stitch, but they're really fun. They're really fun to do. I also carry a full array of needles. I do not carry interchangeables, but I have sizes from 0 to 15. I carry cable lengths from 6 to 42, and I have some 47s. And if you need a particular size and I don't have it, it's very easy for me to order it. So I have these, and I also have on the back side, I carry the Knitter's Pride Dreams. So if your preference is really for a wooden needle, I can accommodate that as well. Yeah. I have a handful of straight needles, tend to use that for Learn to Knit for young people. Yeah, I have those. I have, again, tools, and because I have embroidery, I have needles, I have scissors, I have locking stitch markers, I have counters. These are fabulous little things. Lantern Moon makes them. They're a tiny little crochet hook that is perfect for picking up stitches that you drop, or going back and correcting for cables. These little super snips, they're perfect. You can throw them into everything because you will not lose the cap, and you won't stab yourself when you reach in to get them. Crochet needles, that's the last thing I've got, but I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank you, Haley, for having me. It's been a blast. I never, beyond my dreams. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Guys, again, info for the yarn store is down below. We got so much stuff. Thank you for hanging in for the tour. Thank you, Lisa. All right, everybody, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.